It is an incredibly busy time here in this newsroom. What is turning out to be the deadliest campus shooting in U.S. history.
There has been a tragic shooting incident today at Fort Hood in Texas.
Several people have been shot at a grocery store in Tucson, Arizona. Among those who may have been wounded was Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford.
At least 14 dead, 50 injured after a lone gunman opens fire in a theater outside of Denver, Colorado in Aurora.
Go back to our coverage of a shooting in a temple just outside of Milwaukee early this morning. A frightening scene unfolding there with a hostage situation, potentially, certainly victims still inside.
It's reported at least 27 people have been killed in an elementary school shooting in Connecticut in the USA.
At least 27 people killed, most of them children. It was an elementary school in a small town in Connecticut.
Senseless slaughter, the latest in a long string of mass shootings in America, has reopened the politically explosive subject of gun control and the Second Amendment.
In the wake of the tragic Connecticut school shooting, there's no doubt the debate over gun control will heat up in the coming days and months.
After the massacre of these children, and now, quite frankly, given the fact that the president never faces re-election, that he might actually push for gun control.
I think this is a tipping point.
We need to get guns and bullets and automatic weapons off the streets. They should only be available to police officers and to hunt Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and not.
On May 27, 1999, Darrell Scott, the father of Rachel Scott, a victim of the Columbine High School shootings in Littleton, Colorado, was invited to address the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime in the wake of the recent Columbine High School massacre that left 15 dead. The following is a portion of that speech. Since the dawn of creation, there has been both good and evil in the hearts of men and women. We all contain the seeds of kindness or the seeds of violence. The death of my wonderful daughter, Rachel Joyce Scott, and the deaths of that heroic teacher and the other 11 children who died must not be in vain. Their blood cries out for answers. The first recorded act of violence was when Cain slew his brother Abel out in the field. The villain was not the club he used. Neither was it the National Club Association. The true killer was Cain, and the reason for the murder could only be found in Cain's heart. In the days that followed the Columbine tragedy, I was amazed at how quickly fingers began to be pointed at groups such as the NRA. I am not a member of the NRA. I am not a hunter. I do not even own a gun. I am not here to represent or defend the NRA because I don't believe that they are responsible for my daughter's death. Therefore, I do not believe that they need to be defended. If I believed they had anything to do with Rachel's murder, I would be their strongest opponent. I am here today to declare that Columbine was not just a tragedy. It was a spiritual event that should be forcing us to look at where the real blame lies. Much of the blame lies here in this room. Much of the blame lies behind pointing fingers of the accusers themselves. In 1929, the Soviet Union, with Joseph Stalin in power, established gun control. From 1929 to 1953, about 20 million dissidents, unable to defend themselves, were rounded up and exterminated. In the end, that figure had risen to 61,911,000. If the opposition disarms, well and good. If it refuses to disarm, we shall disarm it ourselves. Joseph Stalin. Mao Zedong of China established gun control in 1935. From 1948 to 1952, 10,076,000 political dissidents, unable to defend themselves, were rounded up and exterminated in Kuomintang, China. And in the end, 35,236,000 exterminations were carried out under the communists. All political power comes from the barrel of a gun. The Communist Party must command all the guns. That way, no guns can ever be used to command the party. Mao Zedong. Adolf Hitler of Germany established gun control in 1938. And from 1939 to 1945, 13 million Jews and others who were unable to defend themselves were rounded up and exterminated. The foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to allow the subject races to possess arms. Adolf Hitler. But if the circumstances should at any time oblige the government to form an army of any magnitude, that army can never be formidable to the liberties of the people who stand ready to defend their own rights and those of their fellow citizens. This appears to me the only substitute that can be devised for a standing army and the best possible security against it if it should exist. Alexander Hamilton, Founding Father. No free man shall ever be debarred the use of arms. Thomas Jefferson. To disarm the people is the best and most effectual way to enslave them. George Mason. I ask, who are the militia? They consist now of the whole people. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-armed and well-regulated militia being the best security of a free country. James Madison.